Basketball is back, and BetOnline remains your number one source for all your sports betting needs this season. You'll always find the latest odds, team matchup info, player news, and game trends at BetOnline. And as your continued source for all sports wager information, BetOnline features live betting, free contests, and giveaways all season long. Always the fastest and easiest way to bet all your favorite sports and events, whether that's NFL, NBA, NHL, MMA, tennis, boxing, or even golf. Head to betonline.ag to join and receive your 50% welcome bonus with your first deposit. Make sure to use promo code BLEAV. That's BLEAV to receive your rewards. It's BetOnline, where the game starts. Tell them the Noisemaker sent you.
Popcorn World. Popcorn World.
Can I make you move now? Yes, I can. So you can get this groove in the back of a can. You can make it round the world when the holes in your hand. Popcorn World. 250 flavors gonna make you smile. 250 flavors gonna make you smile. 250 flavors gonna make you smile. I said popcorn make you smile. Ah. Popcorn World. Popcorn World. Popcorn World. It's a popcorn world. It's a popcorn world.
You're now listening to BLEAV in the ACC with Heisman Trophy winner and Florida State legend, Mr. Charlie Ward, Wave 3 TV, and Fern Creek Hall of Famer Kendrick Haskins, and Mr. Talking Noise himself, and of course Mama Noise's name, Lloyd Spence. And now, it's time for BLEAV in the ACC.
We are coming in hot this morning because that's just how it is. We had a whole nother show and whole nother set of topics set up and ready to go. But God bless you, U of L and NCAA. You have provided some fodder this morning. So that is the indomitable Kendrick Haskins. That is the incomparable Charlie Ward. I am Lloyd Spence. It's BLEAV in the ACC. We are live and we have breaking news. And with that, I will turn it over to Kendrick Haskins so he can break it all down for you. Kendrick, what do you have for us this morning?
According to CBS Sports' Matt Norlander, U of L receives no postseason ban, a $5,000 fine, a small reduction in recruiting days, and 2 years of probation. Former coaches Rick Pitino and Chris Mack avoid punishment entirely.
Wow.
The decision will be made public later this morning at 10 o'clock.
Wow.
So I have a question.
Yes.
Mr. Ward.
What actually did they do that warranted like a punishment?
Basically, what they did is everything that's legal today.
That's exactly right. It's minus the girls.
Right. Well, that was a total separate. That's
a total separate thing.
That's not
right.
No,
but
this one goes back to the Brian Bowen recruitment and Adidas involvement, the FBI investigation into recruiting, and basically the way I saw it, the way I read it, that the way the FBI framed everything, that the schools in that investigation were considered the victims And so how can you punish a victim if they're, if they're supposed to be the victim? I don't think they were victims, but that's what they called it. And so, excuse me. So that's where it stems from, is from the Brian Bowen recruitment that supposedly U of L assistant had offered Bowen's dad $100,000 to come to the school, which was actually never really proven. And so that's where all this stems from. And then you throw in the Chris Mack thing with the assistant coach that happened a couple of years ago, which basically with Dino Gaudio essentially led to Chris Mack being let go. Right. That happened while they were still on probation, because there was some recruiting discrepancies during that too, which was what that stemmed from. So that's what all of that was what was being investigated. And so basically, long story short, I think a big reason why Louisville just got the fine and no postseason ban is because everyone that was involved in all of that is gone from the university, including the president, who had nothing to do with anything. They're on a new athletic director. They're on a new basketball coach. So, I mean, everyone is associated with that is gone. So how can you punish people who had nothing to do with it? So that's where we're at.
So I'm just curious to know, like, shouldn't this be the thing going forward? Like, if none of the people who are associated with whatever happened is no longer there, why punish the people that's there? That never made sense to me.
Right.
Right. Anytime. I don't care if it before now or later. I mean, it just didn't make sense to punish people who weren't even involved in whatever it is that happened. And don't get me started on the NCAA.
No, listen, we always
I think they're good. I think they're good. I think they serve a purpose. But they've just kind of made this fines and their compliance a mess.
Yeah. Well, it's not consistent. That's the number one thing that with the NCAA, it's not consistent, and there's no real rhyme or reason to most of the stuff that they do most of the time. Having said that, I do believe they got this right. That was my number one concern, Charlie, as well. Why are we punished? First of all, I think I put this in our group chat. There has been no team in the history of sports, or at least in the college sports, that I can say has self-punished themselves with a greater intensity than the University of Louisville. I mean, and here's the part that doesn't get talked about enough. This punishment, this self-punishment, probably cost them millions. I mean, 20, maybe somewhere between 25, 50, maybe even $100 million. I mean, it is no small thing what Louisville did to acknowledge what went wrong, despite the fact that, as you said, Kendrick, the FBI said they were probably the victims in this in some capacity. Like, there's some things that they just simply didn't know about. And they didn't know that it was transpiring the way that it was going as far as the school itself, right? But, man, I think the NCAA got it right. I think now there's some curious parts, which we'll get into here in just a second, about Rick Pitino not being, having to pay for any of this in any possible way. That's interesting, and which probably opens the door and leads the way to him being someone's new head coach next year. But having said that, I agree with you 1,000%, Charlie. Why are we punishing a bunch of kids and a bunch of administrators who had zero to do with this at all? So I think they got it right.
Because you go back to when Louisville did the self-imposed postseason ban that year they did that. That was Damian Lee's. Him and Trey Lewis transferred to U of L for the chance to play in the NCAA tournament for the first time in their lives, because they never had played in it at their previous schools, and then they get banned. and like that was Donovan Mitchell's freshman year, and I mean, he's the next of the. Now Donovan Mitchell didn't get to play in the NCAA tournament his freshman year, and he was pretty good his freshman year. So
yeah.
And so he did. At least he did get to play his sophomore year. But
and by the way, that team was trending in the right direction when they went out. Like they were playing some pretty good ball, and Damian probably cost himself millions of dollars in that whole thing. So, a fascinating turn of events. I'm not sure why it took almost 7 years.
And
I mean,
it's 5 years, and
right.
I think U of L probably got time served. If you think,
and that very well could be it as well. I think that could play a huge part in this.
Because I've been saying on this show for years about fans complaining about Chris Mack. I'm like, he's trying to coach and recruit with this hanging over his head this whole time he's been there. And so you look at that, and I mean, it's hurt recruiting for 5 years. The team has not been what you'd expect from a Louisville team for 5 years. I mean,
right.
The COVID year when everything got shut down, U of L was a tournament team that year, but ever since then, it's just not been the same University of Louisville basketball team that we're used to seeing. So now that this is finally gone, well, it's great for Kenny Payne, and it's the gift and the curse because now the expectations are going to be ratcheted up as far as recruiting goes.
Oh, now he's got to win big time. So
yeah, and like he's already getting a lot of heat for that exhibition loss last week. They play again tonight, but they play Chaminade tonight, and so. But for the U of L fans, though, I mean, it's great. It's great to finally have this out of the way, and they can finally move on, and the university itself can move on. Because like I said, nobody is there that was there through all of this, including the president. So
right,
it's a new day for you Cards fans.
My question to the two of you in regards to this, is this the blueprint now for avoiding? Well, it's even hard to say that though, because the rules have all of the rules have changed. Like everything that would have been considered a violation back then is now the standard and the way business is done now. So if Nike and Adidas and whoever else wants to offer a kid something, by all means, you control your name, image, and likeness. Do what you want to do. So that was the other thing I was struggling with too. Like, okay, was this cheating or forward thinking? Like what are we talking about, right? Because it looks like at this point it looks like forward thinking. So, but what do you? I guess is this the standard in the sense of Louisville self-punishing to such a degree? Is that the way now to avoid? Because I like to talk about precedents as it relates to legality and the law. Once certain things have happened within the law, and I'm using that air quotes because technically none of this is law, but the legalities of NCAA functionality, now it becomes precedent for everybody else. So would you say this is the standard now by which if you want to avoid harshness or whatever, you need to self-impose?
I don't think so, just for the simple fact it's the times have completely changed. Because like now, what is a recruiting violation anymore?
I was thinking the same thing. I'm like,
I don't know what it is. And so because people are like, oh, they got off and they'll just cheat again. I'm like, well, how can you cheat? What is cheating anymore?
I guess cheating is a bag of cash. Like if they just give you a bag of cash, I don't know.
I don't know what you call cheating anymore. So I don't. If the rules hadn't changed and this is what happened, then I'd say yeah, this probably would be the standard. But the rules have changed, and who's to say that if the rules hadn't changed, that U of L wouldn't have gotten a stronger punishment? It's just basically at the end of the day, how can you punish someone for something that's totally legal now?
Well, with that being said, how can they give a man, Bobby Miller, at Florida State, 50% suspension. He loses 50% of his games for a trip that he took to come train here in the USA. And his family understood after the fact. He didn't know it was a violation. They was trying to get my man some assistance here in the USA to get, looks and what have you. He gets suspended for 50% of the games. And the parents, once they figured out, or whomever, it really doesn't matter who paid the fine back. Right. Because at this point, as we just talked about, it can be anybody.
Right.
And so, regardless of who paid the fine back, if someone pays something back that they deem as illegal, that should be forgiven. Like,
yeah, agreed.
That should be forgiven, like 1%. So what is the what is the issue? What is the reason for doing what they just did? When you get coaches who had more of a hand in something, and they get 4 games, or they self-impose, as Kansas has just done, 4 games. Like, that's been going on forever.
Right.
And then my man gets 50% of his games removed from his freshman year because of a trip that he took here in the USA that his parents ended up paying back.
I'm with you, Charlie. I don't understand. That goes back to what Lloyd said earlier about the inconsistencies of the NCAA. I mean, that's it in a nutshell right there. And I'm wondering, was his handled by the NCAA or the IARP? Because the IARP is who handled U of L's, and they've been handing down less tougher punishments.
Who is this?
The IARP. Give me 1 second.
Are they the new governing compliance?
Yes.
So they outsourced it?
The IARP is called, let me get the official title for you. I'm looking through all my emails.
So I think what I said
the Independent Resolution Panel, yes.
Yeah, accountability resolution process, yeah.
So what I said was they got all these different folders or files on their desk, and they went through them, and they said, we're going to settle all these claims or whatever they are.
Right.
We're just going to hand them down based upon what we know. We'll dig a little deeper, and then we'll hand them down. So now we're getting all these findings and rulings coming out around the same time.
And Baba's was an appeal, right? Like, this is his last chance. Like, he can't technically appeal this decision, right? Am I right about that?
I know the school has put out an appeal, but I'm sure where that's going.
If I were him, I think I would take this as far as I could take it, because I 1000% agree. This is not right, and what's mind-boggling about this? In a world, in a country, societally, where AAU is rampant, and shoe companies and private companies are paying for trips for kids every day, all day, you're gonna punish this kid for something like this? Like, this is ridiculous. Like, there's no logic or reasoning to any of this, and that's why I say sometimes the NCAA, it makes your head hurt. It's like you just need a Tylenol, because what that makes no sense. It just makes no sense, and you're punishing the program, you're punishing the child for something that everybody's doing. Huh? I'm sorry.
Yeah, most importantly, you're punishing the child, which is totally unfair.
And all he wants to do is just play basketball. And if somebody's paying for him to play basketball, what is the problem? People are paying for people to play basketball every single day, all day. So what are we talking about right here? So It's mind-boggling the way the NCAA thinks sometimes. It really is.
That's one of the things that I've been on the board of our state association. It's one of the things I admire about our board is we look at how does this affect the child. Now, if the child was involved, and I understand, there are some consequences for some of the things that the parents may do or guardians, and it leads to, or the coach or whoever it may be. But in the end, well, how is it going to affect the child? Like, what is it going to do to him or her? And it's just, it comes down to that point at some point, like, this is very minor in my eyes. Like, he's just flying. He has no clue about the dealings of, what's going on. He's just going to train. And it's just unfortunate.
I can't hear you, Lloyd. Can you hear me?
I can't hear you, Lloyd.
Sorry about that. I said hopefully. Sorry about that. I said hopefully there's another path that he can take, and maybe this IARP group, he can appeal to that group, and maybe they can overrule the decision of the NCAA. Because, and then another thing is, the NCAA has got to go through that rule book of 9 million pages and start pulling out the stuff that doesn't make sense anymore. Like some of the stuff that you're saying are violations, they don't make sense anymore. This is not 1921. This is not 1971. Take that stuff out the rule books and stop calling it a rule. That's not a rule anymore. The world doesn't even work that way anymore. Any rule pre-rotary phone should not be a rule. I'm just saying.
Rotary phone.
I'm just saying. But some of these rules are pre-rotary phone. Like, what are we talking about right now? You listen, I got a rule we need to do. Do it. Like, what are we talking about right now? Get that stuff out of the books. It doesn't make sense. So, anyway, I'm telling you, it's mind-boggling the way the NCAA functions. Like, I've never, wow. The fact that they are a $1 billion entity is shocking to me.
They're nonprofit.
I apologize. $1 billion nonprofit is shocking. But so anyway, that is phenomenal news for the University of Louisville. They to avoid what could have been a really, really ridiculously bad situation, and it actually was. I don't know if they avoided. I say they avoided. I'm not really sure they avoided anything because it's been a long 5 years to say the least. But at least it doesn't get worse. So that's good. Okay, with that being said, gentlemen, we had an interesting week, to say the least. Football-wise, things did not quite turn out the way we thought they would. And that is a gross understatement.
Right.
Since we're talking about the University of Louisville, wow, what got into them? And I want to give credit where credit is due. One young Kendrick Haskins said on our show last week, he said, it appears that University of Louisville defense is fixed. And, sir, you may have been correct. Because what
you produced 6 turnovers in a quarter. It's just
that's a pretty good day. That's dialed into the defensive plan and scheme that they have.
They had 8 turnovers for the game. There easily could have been 1, maybe 2 more because Sam Hartman had a fumble in the first half that somehow got overturned without a review. The officiating was god awful in that game. It was bad, but that defense. I mean, it was, to see it in person was unbelievable because it's like every time Wake Forest got the ball, they turned the ball over in the third quarter, except for one possession where they punted the ball away. And I think they may have went 3 and out on that possession. But to see the crowd, I mean, because I'm honestly, and U of L fans, y'all need to start showing up to these games because their crowd was bad. But
I was going to say it wasn't a great crowd, was it?
No, the stadium was about half full. But the people who were there, they were loud. They stormed the field, which I was laughing about in the press room later. I was like, how many times do you think Wake Forest has had the field stormed on them?
in the history of the team. Like, that's probably the first time. They probably took a little pride in it. They're like, well, you know what? We might do right this year. So there you go.
Right. But I mean, they played extremely well defensively. Again, Yasir Abdullah was huge in that game. So many people were huge in that game. Josh Minkins was huge. Monty Montgomery. I mean, like so many guys. I think they said they had 6 different players get sacks on Saturday.
Wow.
So yeah, it was just an amazing, dominant performance. Now, can you put that game behind you and take on a tough James Madison team on Saturday night? That they don't have the name, but the team was ranked at one point this season. They've gotten some big wins. They're kind of falling off a little bit, but they're not going to be intimidated by whatever crowd does show up for the game. Exactly. Because it's supposed to rain on Saturday. But can you turn it around and not feel yourself too much?
Charlie Ward, how does something like this happen from the Wake Forest perspective? Because you're the number 10 team in the nation at that point, and the wheels basically completely fall off. How does that happen? Especially for a veteran team.
Well, I mean, when it happens, that means the other team forced it. Like, it's hard to just put it in words, but there's an opponent out there. And I think a lot of people forget, like, the opponent can force opportunities to happen. And so it was uncharacteristic for Sam Hartman to throw and just play poorly in a stretch of time. But he did. But he's been avoiding all season, though. He's been avoiding those types of plays and making plays in the pocket. You know, where the pocket's collapsing and he's maneuvering in the pocket, and then he's able to get the football out to I think it's Perry or number 80 or number 11. But it's that whole they got caught, like with their system. They got caught up into trying to pass the football because they were starting to get behind and more turnovers happened. Like one of the pick sixes, he had a guy that was open. He ended up throwing the ball behind the guy. And I don't even know if he had pressure. He might have had some pressure, but normally he makes those plays. But it was hard to just say that U of L was going to score 48 points and hold Wake to 21 when we made our decisions.
Right.
We didn't know that they were going to be throwing have 6 turnovers in one quarter.
And it actually was 14 because Wake got that last touchdown after another turnover, in which U of L intercepted him in the end zone, and instead of getting down, he's running around and fumbled, and Wake recovered it and scored on the next play. So it was actually 48-14.
Wow. It's amazing to me to watch both those teams because Wake Forest is such a veteran team, and Sam Hartman has been there for like 10 years. He's literally the quarterback version of Elliot Perry. And it was amazing to watch him I don't say fall apart, but just, he picked an interesting time to have his worst day. I guess if that's what he was.
I was amazed that they didn't take him out before they did. I mean, it seems like it shouldn't get up to 6 turnovers before you take the quarterback out.
Well, but that says a lot about the team because maybe for the fact that they didn't take him out, maybe they're saying, "Listen, he's all we got." So if he doesn't play well, we are
quarterback. But
this is ratchet up to 12 turnovers real quick. So
and the 90-yarder by Keytrell Clark. I mean, he made a great catch on the play, but where was he going with the ball?
Yeah, not really sure on that one either. Well, anyway, that was a fascinating game, but not the only fascinating game. And now I'm concerned, but not overly concerned. Well, because this was a little tricky because it wasn't just that they lost to Notre Dame because Schrader went out. And by the way, I don't mind what Dino did. I love what he said at the end of the press conference when he said, hey, listen, my guy wanted to play, but he didn't look right to play. So I'm not going to put him back out there, just to win a game, even though it was a game they desperately needed. And once again, there is a gross difference between Schrader and the backup quarterback. So
the backup wasn't that bad.
He wasn't horrible, but I think there's some plays. Well, there's obviously some plays he left out there, but I think there's some plays that Schrader would have done differently had he been out there. So, but again, credit Notre Dame. I mean, they were ready. They were ready for this game and went into Syracuse with no fear, and credit their coach, man, for having them prepared to go into that environment and play well. Which, unlike Clemson, they are very prepared for this week's game because they just played a decently tough game. So there you go.
I think it could have been one of those things where there may have been a little bit of a hangover from that Clemson loss, and it could have been a thing of one loss turned to two, just by judging by how they came out. Because it looked to me from what I didn't see that much of the game, but from what I saw, they looked a little flat compared to how they looked in the previous game. And so, but maybe we all picked. I think we all picked Syracuse in that game, but I know I did. But
no, we went all in. We went all in.
Part of that too, I think part of that too was because Notre Dame has been wildly inconsistent this year.
Right.
And so you just don't know what Notre Dame team's going to show up. So there's a lot of that in there too. So, but I mean, it's a big win for Notre Dame. I'm happy for them. Happy for Marcus Freeman. And so, Syracuse. We said though weeks ago, and for some reason that left your mind, Lloyd, that we're going to find out about Syracuse in the second half of the season.
I'm back now. I think I like Dino.
2/3 of this panel has been correct.
I think I like Dino so much. I just want to believe. I like the guy. I really like him as a human.
We like him. Charlie and I like him too.
Not enough to pick him each week though.
No, but I mean they've had a good season, and they'll continue to have a great good season when it comes to wins, losses.
Yeah.
But Notre Dame, on offense, they just decided they was gonna go.
There you go.
Notre Dame just decided they were going to go with two tight ends, one back, get underneath the center, and we're just going to hand the ball to the running back. And, that's what they did for most of the game. They just hammered them, on the ground. They did throw the ball a few times, but for the most part, it was like, we're much bigger. Their defensive line is not huge. And so they just played double team football, which is what you should do. And they were successful, had everybody at the line of scrimmage. But Notre Dame is an interesting team now. I think they're getting ready to play Clemson here.
Yeah.
And Clemson had a week off. So it'd be interesting to see how that game goes because of that dynamic.
Yeah. Shout out to I just want to say this name just because it's probably not going to pronounce it right, but I love the way it's spelled. Shout out to Audric Estime. The running back for Notre Dame, rushed for 123 yards. He had a good day, man.
Who's that?
I think he's number 7. I believe that number is correct. I will confirm that for you, Charlie. Yes, number 7. By the way, big old dude, sophomore. He's chunky 5'11", 227 pounds.
Yeah.
Kind of like a little bowling ball there, you know.
I just looked over at Mel Kiper's big board. Somehow he still has Will Levis as the number 2 quarterback in the draft.
You know, I am thoroughly convinced that Mel Kiper, in his time in the basement when he's going through all those tapes, smokes a lot of weed. But let's
Al Bryce Young is not up there.
right. Come on, man. What games are you watching, dude? Like, okay. Anyway, Virginia Tech, NC State, a very, very interesting game.
NC State's going to struggle. I mean, I thought the quarterback, the freshman quarterback who came in, played well for a freshman. You know, being the first time out there, I thought he made some good decisions with the football for the most part. Used his legs a little bit, but they were down.
Yeah,
I wasn't sure if they were going to be able to make it happen, but I was happy they made it happen because we picked them.
You're right. I was going to say they almost got us. 303 yards the young man threw for with 3 touchdowns, which is not a bad day for a first-time guy. But you're right, Charlie. It didn't look good to begin with. You were like, well, somehow Virginia Tech is going to win this game. And then somehow NC State pulled it out at the end there. Boston College. Listen, you know what? This may have been my last time picking Boston College. Like, goodness gracious. Come on, guys. Jesus.
What is Zay Flowers saying right about?
I just gotta stay healthy. Somehow I gotta finish this season with all of my faculties intact. That's really what it all
need to finish this season. Zay. He doesn't need to finish this season. Zay.
Well, you know what's funny?
Ready for the draft, bro.
I was gonna say, you know what's funny? I am not an advocate of quitting the season early. However, there's always exceptions to rules. This might be one of those exceptions.
At this point, what is he even playing for? They're not going to be bowl eligible.
Like Zay, bro, you might need to go just focus on draft preparation. Like this.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of that kid. I don't want to see him get hurt. I want to see him go ahead and take his talents to the NFL.
Man, it is. I mean.
Did the quarterback get hurt? I mean, why did they only score 3 points against UConn?
No. Phil Jurkovich went 12 of 19 for 155 yards. Now he threw 2 interceptions, so that's part of his problem. And he was the leading rusher with 29 yards.
Jesus.
That's why they scored 3 points.
Right.
How many yards? How much? What does Zay do?
Well, see, there lies your problem. Zay Flowers, only 2 receptions and 35 yards. So the fact that you are not finding ways to include him in the offense, in that kid should not be coming to the game with anything less than some version of 10 to 15 touches, whether that's in and around, whether that's throwing him screens. I don't care how you get the ball, but get him the ball. Yeah. So a lot of people are going to be let go in that program, I believe, starting with the head coach and beyond.
Gonzaga
at Boston College.
Big 12.
What do you say?
It saw on ESPN Gonzaga in talks with joining the Big 12.
So that's going to happen. I saw the rumors of that yesterday. And so now it's a done deal.
So you think Boston College will let their coach go? He just got there.
But it's time to leave, though. If you don't know how to use Zay Flowers, who is probably arguably the most dominant offensive weapon you've had in the last 3 years, then you probably should not be there.
But maybe
this is year 1 for him. He's not going anywhere.
That's year 2.
Even year Boston College is not a place that needs to be firing coaches after 2 seasons.
He had Zay Flowers for 2 years, and he
they had a little success last year. That's why he was on They were much better last year, I thought, than they are this year. I thought that's the reason why they were getting. Maybe not.
I don't know how Djokovic has regressed this much. Like he wasn't this bad last year. He wasn't this bad last year.
Yeah, he was coming into the season. He was projected as one of the top quarterbacks in the league. So that's where the question mark comes in. It's like, what happened to him?
But this goes back to this small sample size of games. I mean, they were projecting him off of maybe 5 or 6 games out of the 12. He missed half of the season last year because of an injury, and he was okay. He wasn't like tearing up the league. He was okay. And then this year, when they came to play us here in Tallahassee, I was like, man, they say he's an NFL quarterback. Like he's missing some throws, like easy throws that I consider easy.
Yeah.
And he had his eyes in the wrong spot. Zay Flowers he hits him on one play before, and then the next play, Zay Flowers he's on a whoop route, and the guy's wide open. He don't throw him the ball.
Yeah. You and I saw the same game, Charlie. I have never seen Phil Jurkovec as being other than maybe being working in the NFL office. I've never seen an opportunity for him in the NFL. So you and I saw it again. But here's how bad Boston College is. We've been talking about them for about 5 to 10 minutes now, and we haven't mentioned UConn once. That's how bad Boston College is. The team that beat them is so bad, they lost to that team. That's not good.
And they only scored 13 points.
Huh?
And I said they only scored 13.
They only scored 13 points. The only game worse than that game was this game. My God. Listen, Miami, I don't know what. Listen, Miami, let's do this. Let's just do this. Let's just talk to the marketing team and say this. Let's change the marketing strategy from we're back to we're going to do our best. And that's all we can ask for. It just come support us as we do our best. That was a terrible game.
The defense was good.
The defense was good.
They only gave up 12 points.
Well, let's hold off good because it was Virginia, and Virginia's terrible. So we'll say the defense did what they're supposed to do against a bad team. But oh man, they're having a rough go of it this season.
The offense has been struggling. I don't know. I'll see more of them this weekend, of course, but I hope they continue to struggle.
You know what? I don't like the grin that Charlie has there. That is a very mischievous, excited grin that you have on your face there.
No,
because you know they're coming to town, or you're coming to town. Who's coming to town? I don't even know who's coming to town.
We're going to Miami.
I think it's probably going to be more Florida State fans.
I was going to say it'll feel like a home game though, because I don't think the Miami fans are coming to this game. I'll be honest.
They'll be at this game.
You think so?
Game. Yeah.
Is it really a rivalry?
I think the Knowles fans going to outnumber them.
I just say, is it really a rivalry when one team is that much better, or is it just bullying at that point?
It's still a rivalry game. I don't care which team is down. I mean, we've been down for years. Some years, and the games have been close, and then sometimes the games have been close because the two teams are trending at a different pace.
Yeah.
But I just think Miami right now is having a tough time scoring. 14 points and 4 overtimes.
Four.
And it was 6-6 at the end of the fourth. Like that kind of struggle is tough.
Especially when you have two quarterbacks who've, I don't know, been there for a while. Like they should be better.
Garcia hadn't been there, but the other Brendan Armstrong.
Brendan's been there now like a long time.
Armstrong has been the biggest disappointment for me.
Yeah.
As far as the expectation we had early in the season, for some reason he's just not gelling or hitting his targets, making good decisions. I don't know what it is.
There seems to be some kind of disconnect between him and the team because you see him yelling at people a lot, and it's just like you're not performing well enough to be yelling at people all the time.
Right. You're not Tom Brady. Like, what are you doing? Just settle down. Is it time to start taking North Carolina, at least offensively, very seriously? Because one thing that they have proven this year, beyond the shadow of a doubt, we're going to put some points up on you. We don't care what your defense is. We're going to score. Now, can you score?
I mean,
and then, yes. Right, and the answer is yes.
Offensively, we've taken them serious all year.
Yeah. That's what's been winning, gives us the confidence to pick them because because of their offense. This kid, Drake May, is pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, they said he was good. I mean, he's pretty good. And it doesn't hurt to have the receivers and the weapons he has as far as, running and catching. But, if their defense can, hold teams to like Pitt, 24 points or so, they'll win. They may end up winning the ACC.
Go ahead.
That division.
Because if you start thinking about who they may face, in Clemson, their defense is, they haven't been lights out, like shutting teams down. And so if they can find a way to, compete on the defensive side of the football and hold teams down and not get in a shootout, then they'll have a chance to win the ACC.
That Clemson-Louisville game next week has become really interesting.
Well, these next 2 weeks have. I think now all of a sudden this gets really, really interesting. But barring a collapse from Clemson and North Carolina, it looks like it's North Carolina, Clemson for the ACC title because they both got pretty decent leads in the division. And I don't think – I agree with you, Charlie. I don't think – and you, Kendrick, I don't think it's a lot that Clemson beats them. I don't – because if they got to match them point for point, I'm putting my money on North Carolina.
Right.
Yeah, I'm putting my money on North Carolina for that. So, final game of the evening or the weekend, Florida State, Georgia Tech. No surprises here. Florida State got into a nice rhythm too, which is probably going to carry over into this one this week.
I don't like the white helmets with the maroon jerseys. I like the white helmets with the all white.
I can care less. As long
That's all
as
there was to talk about in this game, Charlie.
Right,
as long as we
take away from this one, Charlie.
As long as we win, they can wear whatever they want to wear, and they can look however they want to look.
That's not true, Charlie. According to Deion, when you look good, you feel good. When you feel good, you play good. When you play good, there's some other stuff that goes along with it. I don't remember the whole quote, but that's his thing, So,
like I said, that all sounds good, but you still got to go out there and execute what you got on.
I agree. So, listen, it was an interesting week this weekend. Charlie went 4-3. Kendrick went 3-4 because he's as stubborn as, and I let him talk me into that Virginia thing. I don't know why I let you talk me into that.
I don't even remember the conversation.
I know why I let you talk me into it. It's Miami and Virginia, and listen,
it was a pick'em game.
It was a pick'em game.
Yeah,
we took the lesser.
Like there was a lock.
Somebody's got to win bowl.
Right. So it's been, but once again, we say this every week because it's true. If you are betting with us seasonally, and especially if you're using betonline.ag, you're killing it. You are absolutely killing it. You are well up. There's no danger of the vacation being canceled. Christmas is going to be great. You're doing fine.
I do notice a discrepancy in the math here, though.
Is there a discrepancy? Where is the discrepancy? It could be. I did it at
Charlotte
4 o'clock in the morning.
26, and I'm 49 and 28.
Did I do something wrong on that one?
The math doesn't add up.
Well, I know he's at 50. So he may be at 50 and 27. That's probably 27. So if you want to give him that one extra loss, feel free.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I think you're burying the lead though, in that the fact that I'm gaining on you. So there you go. I'm gaining
one game behind for the whole season.
We're gonna make it up this week. This is where we make it up right here in week 10. With our picks for week 10. So all right, let's jump right in. Duke and Boston College starts today's picks. I don't even know if this is worth the conversation.
Go ahead. Go out on that limb so you can make
No. This isn't going out on a limb. This would be going out on a very thin piece of thread, and I will not be doing that. So I will pencil. I started to pencil in Duke as I was putting this together for everybody, and just put Duke for the rest of the year, as well as North Carolina. For the rest,
definitely got these two right.
Yeah, we're gonna at least be 2-0 for sure. Now, I don't know.
I don't know either.
I'm going
on this one.
I'm going with Virginia Tech. Why? Because they're playing at home, and two, they're not. I mean, they play okay. Like last week against NC State, they actually could have won the game.
Is Sims back or no? Or is he done? I don't know his status.
Oh, no, he had an ankle injury.
So he won't be back.
So I don't know if he's healthy enough to be able to play. But one of the quarterbacks, they played two guys. One of the quarterbacks wasn't bad in the second half. The first half, I don't think they allowed him to do much.
Yeah.
They kind of threw some short throws and what have you. But the second half, they let him throw the football down the field a little bit, and they were able to move the football. So I don't know if that will carry over to this week.
Right.
But I can't go with Georgia Tech, even though their defense was solid in some ways, outside of, Florida State giving them opportunities when in the red zone on the 1 yard line and fumbling and all that kind of carrying on. I don't know if Georgia Tech can stop Virginia Tech if they play a certain way like they did the other day.
Yeah. If Sims were playing, I think I would give them a fighting chance, but no Sims in Blacksburg, that speaks like Virginia Tech is probably going to pull it out.
We can make it unanimous. I'll go Virginia Tech.
Yeah. 2 weeks ago, I'd have said this is a lock. And now, I don't know. The only reason I'm going Syracuse because Slavis is so bad. But I don't know if it's a lock, though.
Yeah.
And
I don't
probably
think
not going to have Schrader.
Is he definitely out?
Well, he's in concussion protocol, so
He's out.
I would think he's not going to make it. And this is at Pitt, and this is a bit of a rivalry game. So I'm a little concerned. I'm not going to lie to you.
I'm leaning towards Pitt. Don't make that official yet, but I'm leaning towards Pitt.
I like Pitt. I'm going with Pitt. Why? Because of that number 2, like the running back.
Okay.
He's special. He's a special.
He is special.
Unfortunately, man, it's hard to pick Slovis.
Well, that's why I'm going Syracuse, because he's so bad. I fully expect them to find a way to take this game for them. So that's.
I'll give you a chance to make up ground, Lloyd. I'm gonna go
with Pitt.
I'm gonna go with Pitt.
So I'm either gonna be way behind here or.
I'm going with Pitt. I'm gonna go with Pitt too, just because they're playing at home, and I believe in number 2.
I believe in their running back.
But Pitt's defense is kind of, man.
But Syracuse without Schrader, and Syracuse not playing many road games. I'm going with Pitt.
But you gotta believe at some point Syracuse's road game woes is going to go away.
If Schrader playing, I'll go with Syracuse. But if he's not playing, I don't know.
Yeah, no, my sole purpose for picking Syracuse is Slovis is that bad. So I gotta believe he's going to figure out a way to give the game back to Syracuse. I don't know about this one either. I'll be honest with you.
Because Notre Dame's a wild card. You don't know what team's going to show up.
That's true.
I do not. And I'll say this as well. We all know that is not the easiest place to go in and play in this game. And with Clemson now being, and we can talk about this as well, being the fourth team in the playoff, which is stunning to me.
They've got 3 ranked wins.
They do. Technically, they do. Against teams that we all believe aren't the greatest, but yes, they technically do. So,
this is a tough one.
This is a tough one.
I'm going Notre Dame, pulling the upset, and they're storming the field.
They can't storm the field, Charlie. You think they're going to storm the field?
Yes. They're at home, and they beat the top 14. The rankings just came out.
The field for Wake Forest, Notre Dame is storming.
I was going to say, they'll take much to storm the field these days, so you might be right about that.
I don't know why. I mean, I don't know why I chose Notre Dame outside of them playing at home, and I think their defense is okay, is good. Their offense, I think, can cause havoc as far as what they're doing. I may be wrong, but
well, I'll tell you exactly why you chose Notre Dame, because they are actually they've won 5 out of the last 6 games. So they've actually played a lot better than, they got a rough start with the first 2 games and I think that's just growing pains from a transition. But since then, man, a quality win against North Carolina, a quality win against number 16 BYU back then. And they dominated Syracuse. So they're moving in the right direction. I think I'm going with you, Charlie. I think I'm going.
I forgot they beat North Carolina.
Yeah, they beat North Carolina. They outscored North Carolina, which is not an easy thing to do. So I think I'm going to join you. I think I'm going to join you on that Notre Dame train and say they pull this out.
All right, Coach Freeman.
Text him. Just text him and let him know. We got his back this week.
You know what? I'll be the wild card.
There you go.
I'll go with Clemson. I don't have much faith in that pick at all, but I'm going with Clemson.
I hear you, brother. I hear you. Another interesting one, man. James Madison at Louisville.
We got to go with the Cards. The Cards can't let us down. Like, they play well against the number 10 team at the time. Put up a 48 spot. How can they lose to James Madison the next week?
I'll say this. The one thing that I liked about the post game of that Louisville Wake Forest game is that the defense, in listening to them, they sound locked in. Like I think they're starting to see we're pretty good, and we can, and they look like they want to win the last few games. So that makes me excited. So I'm going to go.
What I'll say about that though is because it's who they brought in from the defense. Because Yasser Abdullah is as flatline as it comes as far as interviews. So yeah, he'll make you believe. But they've got some characters out there. That Monty Montgomery is a crazy person.
Okay.
So if he
a little crazy though, don't you?
If he'd have come in, I don't know if you'd be making this.
I made that statement. I'm going U of L too, Charlie, on this one as well.
I'm going with U of L, but Charlie, you said how can the Cards let you down? I just watched the basketball team score less points than the football team last weekend.
That is also that is also true. what many would consider the ACC game of the week, Wake Forest and North Carolina. There's no way you can pick North Carolina. I mean,
Wake Forest.
Wake Forest, right?
No, I'm not.
I don't think. I think they'll bounce back from that, destruction from last week. I don't think they'll have 8 turnovers again. But
I don't know. Maybe the wheels are about to come all the way off here. I don't know. We'll see.
But I mean, it's like Charlie said earlier. It's like, can you score with North Carolina? And even if Wake Forest didn't have that debacle last week, I'm not sure if they could score with North Carolina. So
yeah, that's a very good point.
Sorry.
Well, and then of course the only other mystery left this week is Florida State Miami. Although I think the mystery has been solved, we can confidently say this is probably going Florida State's way, barring a massive collapse and or injuries. I just think Miami is an absolute mess right now, and it's. I think Stugatz had the line of the week that they played the worst 4 overtime game in the history of college football. Miami did, and I don't think there's a bounce back. Well, listen, they couldn't have been the worst. But Charlie, the rest of them lost, though.
Say again.
He's talking about the game itself.
I can say the rest of us lost. They won, but all the rest of us lost. Right. Think about the time that you can never get back, having waited to see how that game was going to turn out. You can't get that back, Charlie. That is over.
Someone was watching it intently because those are the 2 schools.
And they will never get that time back.
And they'll never get that time back. They are stuck. They could have been taking up a hobby, talking to loved ones, good food, a lot of good things.
As long as that game was, they probably could have painted the house.
They could have painted the house. So anyway, that is our picks of the week. Again, it's going to be another great ACC. Now, I do want to address the elephant in the room before we go. I know we gotta move on here, but with all due respect to Clemson, with all due respect, I've watched Tennessee play, I watched Alabama play, I've watched Michigan play. Listen, I'm an ACC guy. Obviously, we're an ACC show. You're not the 4th best team in the nation. I'm sorry. I don't buy that at all.
I mean, why? I mean, they're at a spot now where it really doesn't matter. I mean, whether you're 4 right now, you still have games left to play. All the teams have games left to play, and some of the teams that are at the top have tougher games, right? That they got to play. And if Clemson can find a way to win the rest of their games, the teams that are ahead of them and right behind them will be playing each other for the most part.
Oh, no. So, I agree with that 100%. Clemson has been given a gift, and most of that gift probably is on the reputation of its head coach. And it's a TV show. I say that all the time. It's a TV show. So who's going to bring the eyeballs? Well, Clemson's definitely going to bring the eyeballs. So I get that part. You're not the 4th best team in the nation. I'm sorry. You're just not.
Well, Michigan should be up there. Are they up there? They're not up there.
I think it should have been. I think it should have been Tennessee, Ohio State, Georgia, Michigan. And you can decide the order. I don't really care about the order because I think
Georgia. Well, one team's getting ready to get a loss,
right?
In your top 4,
right? So
that's going to happen, and one of those teams will be out. And then you're going to start looking at, some other teams, who has the worst loss out of the 5, 6, 7, and 8.
It's going to be controversy if Clemson does run the table and there's a 1-loss Tennessee or Georgia and a 1-loss Alabama out there.
Right, because even with one loss, those losses are coming in conference, and I still don't think Clemson is. I don't know. To me, Clemson was given a phenomenal gift,
But they're undefeated.
They are undefeated. Listen, and we talk about that a lot. You can only play who's in front of you. Same thing with TCU. You can only play who's in front of you. And
TCU beat some tough teams.
They did beat some tough teams.
At the time, some of the teams were ranked. They had like 3 or 4 ranked opponents that they had to play.
Well, I would argue, Charlie, that TCU wins are better than Clemson's wins. If I'm being honest, I think
I can agree with that.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
So I think TCU should have been higher. I would say Clemson probably should be either 7 or 8 on this list, because you can even make a case, and this is where it really gets disrespectful, I guess, on my part, that Oregon, their only loss is to Georgia. And is the Pac-12 top to bottom better than the ACC, or the ACC top to bottom better than the Pac-12?
Well, according to us, or a couple of us, Clemson's going to have 1 loss after this week. So
you did say that. So this may right itself.
I'm just saying, everyone gets all up in arms after this first ranking piece, and it's still like 4 weeks left to go. And
but I think it's
going to change.
But I think it talks to the climb too. Like with TCU, you have them at 7, so you're basically telling them, unless chaos happens, you have 0 shot to get in.
And that's the reason why they're going in 12.
Yeah.
Which I can appreciate and want, because this is the reason why. You're starting to get more quality teams, and you're trying to choose from 4, trying to choose 4 teams out of 10. There may be 2 wild cards out there that may not make it, may make it, but they're a quality team.
Yeah.
I just think that's the reason why it should be, the playoffs, as opposed to, just choosing 4 teams that we feel like who has
the best TV show,
strength of schedule, or who they played and all that kind of carrying on. Let's just get some teams in there. Let's get some games and, play it out.
Yep. All right. Well, listen, with that being said, we got a shout out. We're down to shout outs now. So, who we shouting out? I guess the biggest shout out has to go to the University of Louisville. Look, that's my shout out to the University of Louisville. Mm-hmm. It could have been really bad, but it worked out. So, congratulations to you today. So there it is.
Well, I'll go. My shout outs, of course, is to the U of L defense and the U of L defensive coordinator Brian Brown.
Who? Who'd you say?
The defensive coordinator Brian Brown.
What? Is that the guy that we were talking about getting fired because his defense wasn't playing well at the time?
I mean, that was the rumor, Charlie.
I have a U of L press conference at noon today.
Okay.
At the building. Okay.
Is that because the balloons will be ready at 11? Is that why they're? It takes that long to get the streamers and the glitter put up in the ceiling. It takes a little while.
They're going because the IARP press conference is at 11. So
okay, so they're gonna go right after that. Okay, all right, yeah. Fair enough.
Other shout,
is
to Jack Harlow for doing a great job on Saturday Night Live this past Saturday.
Shout out to Jack. He was first class. See what I did there?
He's a walk in the park.
He was a walk in the park. There you go. Oh, it's nice when you can acknowledge one of your besties.
It's not a bestie.
You know what? I feel like I should humble flex you for this, because
no.
Well, it's not your decision. It's Charlie's decision at this point. I feel like it's a humble flex. It feels like a humble flex because we all know that's your bestie.
And that was a humble flex.
Because we all know that's your bestie. And so,
Standing there live.
Right. That's a big moment.
Jack Harlow.
That's a big moment. So
yeah, I know. I got him on speed dial, baby.
If I would have said shout out to my good friend Jack Harlow, then that's a flex.
It was implied. It was implied. It was implied. Anybody that's been watching this show,
that part out.
Right.
It's a Louisville kid. I live in Louisville. I'm just shouting out the kid from Louisville.
Raise your hand if you starred in a Jack Harlow video on this, if ever. Like you were a co-star in a Jack Harlow video. Okay, there you go. That's all I'm saying. One of us has been in a Jack Harlow video, and the other two have not. So
one of us is on TV every Saturday in a new Nissan commercial.
That is also listen. That is also true. I agree.
And that was a Charlie Ward humble flex.
That is also true.
I get caught up in that. I didn't say anything.
Well, listen, he drug you in, and his argument was solid. I got to give him credit for a solid. Listen, unlike the NCAA, I reward a solid argument. That was a solid argument. It's the rubbing of the head for me. It's the rubbing of the head.
He's so perplexed.
I love it. All right, Charlie, who you shout out this week?
I don't know what the man's stats were outside of his yards, but Jay Trav had a very good game last weekend against Georgia Tech. I don't know. He had 396 yards passing, and he had quite a few drops that could have gotten him over 400 yards. But he was solid, played really, really well, and I'm happy to see him playing well. So that's one. Two, I will shout out my young man by the name of Artavian Bubba Brown. We had our first middle school basketball game last night here at FSUS, and Bubba scored 36 points.
Wow!
In his debut as an eighth
debut.
Yeah, it's his first game. He's new to the school, but it was his first game, and he had 36 points, and we won 43-42.
Did you just say 43-42?
Yes.
Wow.
So he
wow.
But the great thing about him is he scored 36, but he did share the wealth a little bit. So he didn't shoot all the
very little bit.
He didn't shoot every shot.
Well, because there was a 7 other school.
Oh, wait a minute. He didn't shoot every shot. He did leave 3 shots. So if I'm doing the math,
he did pass the ball around to his teammates, and he gave them opportunities.
Well,
but he just happened to be the one that could put it in the basket.
We appreciate Bubba for his benevolence.
Oh,
he's definitely.
Hey, he's a man that recognizes, hey, if you want to win, I got to do what I got to do.
And by the way, maybe he's not wrong.
Hey,
listen,
I like him. I love the kid. He reminds me of a guy that just left us. So, like his teammates may not be on the same level that he is from a skill perspective, but he talks to him, communicates with him, tries to help him through what he sees, and so that's why you can admire a kid like that, even though he scored 36 of the 43 points.
What grade is he in again?
He's eighth grade.
8th grade. Wow. Well,
yeah.
Listen, The basketball part of Zay Flowers will be played by Bubba, it seems like, this season.
Bubba's gonna have the ball in his hand, so he's gonna make things happen.
Hey, listen, you can't fault the man for a winning strategy. He says, I know what I can do. I don't know about the rest of y'all, but I know what I can do. So there you go. Well, shout out to Bubba, man. That's exciting. I want to give another shout out, a dual shout out to again to Dion for a great weekend, but also for not taking the bait. The Southern guys were a little, dare I say, egregious on the social media, to say the least. And I think it transitioned far beyond just simple trash talk into something that was woefully disrespectful. And for Dion to hold his team at bay and say, "Listen, we'll settle this on the field," I think that says a lot about him. And 35-0 is a pretty clear message. So, and they lost the battle of the band. So there you go.
Yeah, I think Dion is doing an amazing job with that program.
Yeah.
I can't get down with some of the music that's actually played in the locker room and on some of their posts. That's just not my taste. But I think I know and I see a lot of the things that he's doing very, very similar to what Coach Bowden did with us.
Yeah.
And so I can appreciate that because he's helping them to walk through a lot of those situations and keeping them at bay of, on the forefront of decisions and how it can affect not just yourself, your family, and the team.
Yeah.
But, just making sure that you're doing the right things. And so holding them accountable, to their grades and not just allowing them to do whatever they want to do, and being real. That's the thing I admire most about the posts, all the posts and different things that they're doing is it's a mix. Things that you may not like, they showing it, which is not normal. When you start talking about, IG or social media posts.
Yeah.
And so I can appreciate, the diversity of, just the whole magnitude of what's going on. Even though some of the stuff, like I said, I don't appreciate or agree with, but that happens in every program.
Yeah, Dion's definitely a true anomaly when it comes to the way he moves. But one thing you can't argue with is the results, and he's getting good results on and off the field with those guys. So, with that being said, we've had a phenomenal time here today. I appreciate you guys so much, and we will get into another week of ACC football here this week, and get ready for ACC basketball. Some things are starting to heat up now, and we're going to be mixing it up here in just a little bit, so we'll get you guys ready for ACC basketball. Shout out to Hubert Davis, who secured the bag. So we will get into all that coming up here over the next couple of weeks. But that is Kendrick Haskins. He's off to run and cover University of Louisville, and we're going to get into the rest of our day as you get into the rest of yours. This is Believe in the ACC. We'll see you later.
You've been listening to Believe in the ACC with Charlie Ward, Lloyd Spence, and Kendrick Haskins. Please like, follow, subscribe, and share from the Noisemakers page on Facebook and on YouTube. And you can also listen to us on Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes, and wherever podcasts can be heard. And join